For many, our current age feels like a dark times of Star Wars. Film after film is either controversial or outright canceled. One may envision 1977 as the good times, on that victorious day when people lined up around the block to see the history of science fiction be forever changed by Star Wars. But in 1991, the history of Star Wars had its own victorious day that would forever alter the way we thought of it. On one fateful May day, Star Wars made its mark on bookstores, quickly soaring to the top of the bestsellers list. For some 14 years prior, Star Wars had been the name of a movie series, with admittedly some RPG spin-offs. But Heir to the Empire was not merely another spin-off. Importantly, it built upon the RPG books, a spin-off of a spin-off, creating the beginnings of a web of connections that would continue to grow. Star Wars became a universe on that day. And what an expansive universe it would become. Stories did not merely emanate from the films like Rey's, pulling the movie's glory out into the void. Rather, the books, comics, and games would emanate from one another, then weave threads across multiple sources, then ultimately remain rooted in place for the next tale to continue the chain. Even as the prequels reshaped the story of Star Wars, the expanded universe kept up, taking its glories to a new generation of fans. Yes, there were bumps along the way, and even some discussions about tearing it all down and starting anew, but they were rejected, and the EU stood strong. Until one fateful day, when a Disney buyout brought everything to a spiraling halt. Books, games, and projects of every sort were cancelled, all while the mouse made its plans to replace the flagship EU stories with a new trilogy of sequel films. While some fans of the expanded universe mourned the loss, others thought that perhaps if one Star Wars universe is good, having another would just mean twice the fun. Others suggested combining the two universes into one mixed continuity in their heads. Some jumped ship over to the new canon entirely. But gradually these ideas began to waver. Disney canon just couldn't satisfy us like the EU, while the universe's diverging paths made it clear that they each needed their own separate space to flourish. And so the EU remained, sitting as an unchanging beacon to bring Star Wars back to a better time. But without growth, there is death. A stagnant EU was doomed to be slowly forgotten, and new stories were needed to keep it alive. Fan fiction was a medium by which some sought to rectify this, but as each author told their own independently diverging stories, it lacked the interconnectivity of the expanded universe. Into this void came Star Wars ReExpanded, a fan initiative by Nick Schisler to create one cohesive universe that picked up from where the original one had left off. We cast ourselves not merely as independent fanfic authors, but into the roles of the editing teams who made the original EU work. Also included, albeit more rarely, were fan films, lost official works, video games, and art. Strict continuity standards and a reviewing process were applied to stories in the project, ensuring that they would feel like they belonged in the EU. Likewise, we strive to make our stories interconnected when possible, creating a butterfly effect. Authors are pushed to work together, creating crossovers and collaborations when possible, especially when working in similar eras. The ReExpanded project is organized primarily as a timeline, which is a curated list of media that are part of the project, organized by in-universe date. It has also become apparent that in order to really feel like the EU, the books need to be printed, and they have been, at a small scale, thanks to the marvelous work from the team. The growing list of projects now includes a Discord, a Facebook page, a Wiki, a YouTube channel, and more, so Nick created a crack team of a dozen chroniclers to manage the efforts. Cryptix is our bloodhound, seeking out new stories for the project and engaging with their authors. D. Marmot has programmed a whole custom book formatting website for us, Kyber Press. Hish Graphics is a phenomenal cover artist. Mortis is our resident Old Republic and New Sith Wars expert, and enjoys writing stories in a sector of the Star Wars universe no one cares about. Ooga Booga is known for his expertise in video games, and set our record for the fastest short story ever written, while on a very tight deadline. Wayne Mann is an expert on all things alien species, resident math nerd, and the #1 hater of Dave Filoni. Animator Ben is our interior illustrator, and has also done tremendous work to promote our anthology projects on Instagram. Cthulhu is our resident Jim Lucino, with an unparalleled ability to pull in references to the most arcane lore possible. Darth Lulu is a formatting specialist with particular experience in royal hardcovers and mass-market paperbacks, and he is best known for his work on Lightsider. Indy Socks is the expert on the final part of the timeline, with all things New Jedi Order, Legacy, and Hand of Thrawn 45. Stuart Bailey is an impeccable formatter, known as being the greatest man alive. Regarding the continuity of this project, we do not allow retcons simply to make room for a new plot beat, though we do use them to solve existing issues. What has been set in stone by the previous stories remains so. Of course, any stories that were already non-canon in the EU are similarly non-canon here. While Disney's stories are not authoritative in our timeline, we do accept borrowings of smaller Disney canon elements, just as they borrowed from the EU. The inclusion of a Disney canon element does not canonize its whole story, just like how Disney's use of Thrawn doesn't mean that Mara Jade or other Thrawn trilogy elements exist in their universe. While lore is important, our authors are also required to be wary of power scaling and force abilities. They must ensure that they don't create any character too unstoppable, or create an ability or technology so advanced it could shake the course of history. One of the other big rules that sets us apart from Disney canon is that under no circumstance will we resurrect a character who has been killed in the EU. It has happened countless times, and even when used effectively, is still eye-rolling. The only and single exception to this rule will be for original creations by the authors and only if planned from the start. Also, that business on Sonoma Sakote doesn't count. One other important regard in which this project matches the tone of the EU is in maturity level. No slash fics, nothing that would go past the PG-13 type of tone that was found in the books. The timeline grows in a largely democratic fashion, based on the preferences of our readers, judging quality of stories by the number of people who finish reading them and would recommend them. This means that in addition to the more objective criteria, stories must also be popular and enthralling. While the 12 chroniclers are most actively involved in the work of reviewing fics, anyone can write candidates for the timeline or make their impact on the continuity by joining us, reading, reviewing, and drumming up support for their favorite stories. At the end of the day, we are here to create Star Wars fanon content and have fun. There are rules, but we are doing this as a passion project, and our love letter to Star Wars as a whole. We hope to be the flame that keeps our beloved expanded universe alive.